Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts. Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Thank you, Reverend Jean Marie Eck and Bruce Ross. Wasn't that beautiful? Thank you so much. We're in peace today. So today we are continuing our spiritual gifts series, and you've already heard about faith and about wisdom and a couple of other things, I think. I've lost track. I'm just kind of... And what? And healing. Oh, yes, that was wonderful. And today we're going to be talking about knowledge. And I must say, after having already done the wisdom one, this was a challenge. This doesn't feel very holy or very spiritual, you know? I was just kind of like, what am I supposed to do with knowledge? So I did a little bit of research, you'll be happy to know. First of all, we derived this whole idea of spiritual gifts as Reverend Jean Marie started with our opening, and when she did the introduction when she introduced faith, but she also introduced all of the spiritual gifts series at the time, with the 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and it says specifically around knowledge. Now, to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one, there is given through the Spirit a message of wisdom. We knew that. To another, a message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit. Oh. So knowledge and wisdom come maybe with that same zeitgeist, with the same spirit, with the same impulse, with the same, maybe even drawing from the same necessity, right? Of needing something in our lives to understand our world better and somehow to equip us from the inside out to deal with what really comes from the outside in. Now, knowledge is actually a Gnostic concept, an earlier form of religion at the time of when Jesus was teaching. Gnosticism was sort of coming to some kind of a zenith about that time. There's a lot of tenets of Gnosticism, one of which has a lot to do with light. It has to do with the body being sort of corrupt, and really the aspiration is always about spiritual attainment, always trying to reach a higher level of vibration, a higher level of light. It has a lot in common, actually, with some of our unity philosophy, too, to a point. But I don't really want to talk more about Gnosticism, but I will talk about knowledge because it is highly revered. It was believed in the Gnostic tradition that knowledge was actually one of the consequences of spiritual attainment. That there would be understanding, yes, but knowledge, almost like prophecy, almost like knowing something you couldn't know from your other senses, like something that was just given to you. And so that was a way for your opening to receive something, knowledge that you could share that really didn't come through any other method or any other doorway. So it was always thought to be a gift from the Spirit. In Jewish mysticism, in the Kabbalah, knowledge is actually an aspect of the Sephirot, of the divine pattern. Knowledge is an aspect of God. Therefore, the acquisition of knowledge is actually a gift of God. It is actually a gift of the divine in us. Now, knowledge we think of as really being contained up here above our shoulders someplace, that there's some kind of container that has all the knowledge, and that it's data, and that it's facts, and that it's information. But I would tell you that knowledge needs to be thought of not so much as being able to quote things or to produce evidence, facts, and information, but rather to be able to digest those facts, to really be able to speak of them in a way that actually has application. You see, knowing facts is not the same as having knowledge. Having information is not the same as having knowledge. Knowledge is actually the integration of information and facts in the crucible of our life experience. In other words, it's the road we travel. It's the things we experience. It is are the facts that we have to deal with, the information that we receive, yes. And we have to find ways to deal with all of that, but actually it's all knitted together, integrated, and digested, in a sense, through our living force field, through the field of our own living experience. We ourselves are in some ways transforming and commuting these facts and information into something precious, something holy, being transformed by our lives. Wisdom that we talked about already is understanding the dynamics of life. In other words, wisdom is really the understanding how things work together, kind of like the motion or the movement. It's sort of like wisdom tells us that this is the flow, and so we can apply this or extrapolate off of that into specific situations in our life, because we just kind of carry a wisdom that may or may not be necessarily related to a specific life experience, or it may have arisen out of a specific life experience, but it is now sort of available to be applied in different circumstances that don't look like the original one. Following me? Wisdom is something that comes from inside of us. It too comes from an infinite source. We talked about that in that lesson. And by the way, as a means of a commercial, all of our talks are archived, so you can go back and listen to them and see if I'm still talking the truth, okay? See if I remember much of this since I gave that talk. Wisdom is understanding the dynamics of life even without specific experience. Knowledge becomes ours through our awareness and our unique experience of life. Knowledge comes out of direct, specific experience. But as we integrate it and as we sort of digest it, as we own it, it becomes part of a great landscape of knowledge that we bear, that we carry with us, and that we find we can apply to other situations over time. And does it work with wisdom? Absolutely. But it also gives us the specificity and the tools for really navigating in our lives in important ways. What we deeply know here cannot be given to us by anyone else. People can tell you what they know. People write books all the time. We read those books. We go to their lectures. We play their, download their podcasts. We listen to all their stuff. We try to bring it in, and it enlightens us and it helps. But it doesn't replace the hard-earned experience that drawing on our own experience of knowledge, of wisdom applied in our lives, in the living experience, that we deeply know that nobody can take from us. And in fact, at some deep level, nobody can give to us either. It has to be experienced. It has to become yours. Then it also cannot be lost or forgotten, because it becomes a part of who we are. Therefore, knowledge is holy because we're holy. This is part of the beauty of our humanity. To grow, to develop, and to integrate and knit together these facts and this information and this life experience in a way that blesses and serves. This is the inner work of the soul. Dina Metzger said, "A sacred illness is one that educates us and alters us from the inside out, provides experiences and therefore knowledge that we could not possibly achieve in any other way. I read often from Kitchen Table Wisdom, a book, and My Grandfather's Blessing, written by Rachel Naomi Reman. Started off as a pediatrician, but she is now a wonderful healer, and she works with people with terminal illnesses at the end of their life and helps them process and speak about what that process is like. And to a person, the stories that she has written about, the people's lives that she has written about, the people she's known, is that they become different people through the course of the illness, whether it gets healed or whether it doesn't in physical bodies. Souls themselves become revealed sometimes in that process. And they are not the same people who entered the illness as the ones who exited the illness. It transforms us. It is a holy experience of growing in awareness and knowledge. Calvin Coolidge said, "Knowledge comes, but wisdom lingers." It may not be difficult to store up in the mind a vast quantity of facts within a comparatively short time, but the ability to form judgments requires the severe discipline of hard work and the tempering heat of experience and maturity. That's what we're talking about. This is serious work. We call it LIFE. It's our life. You know, we're digesting things that are happening, we're integrating, we're processing them, we're kvetching, we're talking about them, we're losing it with people. We have to go back and clean up messes with people. It's all that stuff. It's all the messiness. But it's also the great privilege of humanity to be engaged in growing and changing and being transformed before our very eyes. Sometimes over weeks and months, sometimes over years, sometimes over the course of a lifetime, it may take to really see that trajectory of that soul. His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, "The period of greatest gain in knowledge and experience is the most difficult period in one's life." Do I get an amen on that? The most difficult period in your life is the time when you actually learn the most? Nobody would sign up for that course, I'll just tell you right now. And beware, if the course ever says, course is called the Dark Night of the Soul, do not sign up for that. It will hunt you down and find you eventually, but don't volunteer for that one. Through a difficult period, you can learn. You can develop inner strength, determination, and courage to face the problems. But that's what it's all about. Seriously, that's why we're here. And I'll tell you what else about that dark night of the soul. It's not punishment. It's not stupidity or foolishness or anything else. It really is preparing you for some big work. And you have to get down to brass tacks and let go of something, some big stuff. You've got to let it be done to you from the inside out and do your best to keep your equanimity in all of it. But whatever it is you have to let go of, do it with help, do it with professionals. This is not for sissies. This is really important. But once you let it work through you, you'll find yourself in much bigger, greater container. Because this access of knowledge is holy work. It's to be used in the world to bless. Brian Doyle shares a story that comes from a friend. He says, "A dear friend of mine told me about being with his dad in his last hour. He says this, 'You know, we sat there holding hands, We hadn't held hands for 50 years. You know, you stop holding your dad's hand when you're like 6 or 7 years old. But now, I think we should keep talking, hand in hand, you know? Anyway, he knew it was the end, and so did I. But he says, I'll always be with you, son. I'll always be nearby. God knows how that will be, but I'm sure it will be. You just talk to me the same as always, and I'll do what I can. It'll be easier for me to be around you because, you know, we won't have to use the phone or fly in an airplane. We get a hint of this in this life, don't we? You know, when your kids are in trouble, you can just feel it somehow. I'll be near your mother and sister also. But who knows? No one knows except the knower. Remember that time we tried to write down every possible name of God? We started with 99 names, but we got up to about 400. Even death is a gift from God somehow. It's sad, but it's a condition of the gift. No is partners with yes. That's just how it works. I'll always be nearby. You remember that. Love doesn't die. How that works exactly, though, I'm not sure. And you know what? I don't even care. Because I know it's so. Khalil Gibran said, your living is determined not so much by what life brings to you as by the attitude you bring to life. Not so much of what happens to you as by the way your mind looks at what happens. This is where that wisdom knowledge thing all kind of connects up, because it's using our hearts. Yes, this is the field of potentiality. This is the portal to the infinite. It really comes through here. Our minds are sort of like receivers that pick up stray rays, every now and then some information and things that we channel in, and certainly ideas that we get from books and the movies and the videos and all the things that we see and do naturally, because this is, you know, this is our job, and this is the part we understand the best, because it's rational and logical and it makes sense and we have experience with that. But here's a field where surprises come up in our heart center, and this is the place where things come into being and mix in. Wisdom gets mixed in with knowledge and understanding, and somehow creates a whole new kind of soupy experience mixed together that shines a different ray on what our lives are, right? In Luke chapter 12, Jesus said, there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. That sounds like a promise to me. You can ask why, and sometimes your whys will not get answered, but always whats get answered. What? Now. What is next? What would you have me know now? What is happening here? What am I becoming? What should I be doing? What? Whys? God's not so interested in whys. More in moving forward, more in growing. In John chapter 8, Jesus said, Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Know the truth, but I would say that kind of truth is really here. You know that you know that you know. That's where knowledge synthesizes itself with the wisdom of your heart so that it becomes something permanent and something solid and something powerful and something uniquely you. That Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, let me tell you, she wrote Kitchen Table Wisdom, I said earlier. This is a short little piece from her book. She says, just before she meets with Tweedledum and Tweedledee, Alice enters the wood of no names and encounters a fawn. Neither the fawn nor Alice can remember their names, but no matter. They walk a ways together. Alice with her arms clasped lovingly around the soft neck of the fawn until they come to the edge of the wood. And when they are there, the fawn suddenly remembers its name and looks at Alice with horror. "I'm a fawn," it cries out, "and dear me, you're a human child." Terrified, it runs away. As a child, I spent many summers alone on a deserted beach on Long Island, gathering shells, digging for little clams, leading a far different life than the city life I led the rest of the year. Day after day, I watched everything, developing an eye for change in all its subtlety. The rest of the year in New York City, I did not look directly at anyone I did not know and did not talk to strangers. But there was great peace in those summers and a new ability to be without people and yet not feel alone. I have many good memories of that time. Every morning the sea would wash up new treasures, pieces of wood from sunken boats, bits of glass worn smooth as silk, the occasional jellyfish. Once I even found a pair of glasses with only one lens left in them. Some of the most vivid of these memories concerned the beautiful white birds that flew constantly overhead. I remember how their wings would become transparent as they passed between me and the sun. Angel wings. I remember how my heart followed them and how much I too wanted wings to fly. Many years later, I had the opportunity to walk this same beach. It was a great disappointment. Bits of seaweed and garbage littered the shoreline, and there were seagulls everywhere, screaming raucously, fighting over the garbage and the occasional dead creature the sea had given up. Disheartened, I drove home and was halfway there before I realized that the gulls were those white birds of my childhood. The beach had not changed. The sacred lives beyond labels and judgment in the wood of no names. First, we digest with the heart the true nature of things. Only then can we really understand them and know them by their name. Frederick Buechner says, listen to your life, touch, taste, smell, and use them to feel your way to the holy and hidden heart of it all. Because in the last analysis, all moments are key moments, and life itself is grace. Accept your gift of holy knowledge and use it wisely. God bless you all.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.